Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on lists in Python. In this lecture, we'll learn about how we can create lists and then how we can access elements in a list. Let's start by defining lists and how to create them. A list is a sequence of values or elements, and we can simply create lists by enclosing elements in a rectangular bracket. And then elements in the list are separated by a comma. So 1, let's say 2, and so on. So each element in a list are separated by a comma. And one good thing about lists is that it can accept any data type. So let's create a simple list. Let's say a list containing the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is a simple list. The values are enclosed in a rectangular bracket, and the elements or items in the list are separated by a comma. And we can save our list, let's say, in an object X. So that will be our list X. So if we call our list X, we get elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in our list. So as I mentioned, the elements can be of different data types. In this example, it's integers, but our list can contain integers, strings, characters, or even other lists, or even a combination of this. For instance, let's create another list and store it in a variable xx, so it can have, let's say, item 1, item 2, and item 3. So that's another list. If we call our list xx, we have the elements item 1, item 2, item 3. Let's create another list and save it in a variable called xxx. Let's have a combination of integers. We can have characters, let's say x. We can have strings. Let's say string 2. Or we can even have another list. Let's say 1, 2, and 5. So you see this? This is a list. So it doesn't matter for the data type in our lists. So if we call our list xxx, those are the elements. So here in this case, this is one element. So this is an element containing a list of these 3 numbers, 1 to 5. But this is considered as one element. And each element is separated by a comma. So there is one function called the length function. To find out the length of a list, we simply say length and then pass our list. So in this case, let's pass our list xxx, so it has the element. The length is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So length of xxx, x is 7. Length of, let's see, the other list that we created is xx, so the length should be 3. And similarly, we can check the length of our single x. That should be 5. So if we run it, we get 5. So that's the simplest way to create a list, by enclosing the elements in a rectangular bracket and separating each element by a comma. There is another function called range, and this range function can be used to create a list. So we simply say range and then pass a number, let's say 9. So what this will do is create a list of numbers from 0 up to, let's say, if we say n, so this will create a list of numbers from 0 to n minus 1. Let's look at an example. So if I say range 4, this will create a list of numbers from 0 up to n, in this case is 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. Let's run it and see. So if we run it, we get a list containing the elements 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's another way of creating a list. We can say range 12. It creates a list containing the elements 0 all the way through 11. We'll discuss more about the range function and we'll be using it a lot in the future, but I just wanted to quickly show you that we can use this range function to create a list. And similarly, we can save this in a variable. Let's say xRange. We can do that. And then if we call our object or variable xRange, we get a list containing the elements 0, 1, 2, 3. We can also do that. Okay, next, let's see how we can access elements in a list. Hello everybody and welcome back. In this lecture we'll learn about accessing elements in a list or indexing. Let's call the list that we created in the previous lecture X. So we created that by simply saying or enclosing the values in a rectangular bracket and then saving it in a variable. Now let's see how we can access elements in my list X. So for accessing elements in a list, we use indexing. We simply pass the index of the element we want to obtain. So we have our list object X, and then we pass the element that we want to grab. We pass the index of the element we want to grab. Let's say we want to grab the element 3. So 3 here is at index 2, right? So this is index 1. This is index 0. This is index 1. And then this is index 2. So we simply pass 2. And we get the element 3. What if we want to get 5? We can simply say X and then pass the index of the element 5. Let's see. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we simply pass 4. Another thing we could have done to grab the element 5 is use a negative indexing. So negative indexing starts from the int. If I say X at index negative 1, it means grab the last element. So that will grab 5. Okay. Let's create another list. XX. And then let's say it has the elements 2, 4, 6, 9, A, let's say string, and list. So if we call XX, we have that. And if we call the length function and then pass XX, we see that the length of our list is 7. Let's say we want to grab string. So one way to do it is to start indexing from here and then say this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can say XX at index 5. Or we could have said, we can use negative indexing and say index -2. So this is -1 and this will be index -2, and we get the same result. We can also obtain more than one element. We can get a slice of our list. For instance, let's say we want to grab the elements 6, 9 and the character A. So we can pass that as an index slice. So let's see here. This is index 0, this is 1, this is index 2. So index 2, 3, 4. That's what we want to grab. So XX 2. So I'll pass 5. Remember, index slice from the beginning up to the end, but not including the end. That's how slicing works. So this will grab elements at index 2, at index 3, and at index 4. So that's how slicing works. Now if we run this, we get the elements 6, 9, and the character A. And let's say we want to grab all the elements to the right of 6. So we want to grab 6, 9, A, string, and list. How can we do that? So for that, we can simply say XX, and then index 2, and everything else. This means grab element at index 2, and all the elements after that. So if we run this, we get 6, 9, A, string, and list. Let's look at a few more indexing methods. What if we want to grab all the elements? So we can pass double colons. So this means grab every single element in the list. What if we say XX, then double colon, and pass 2? This means grab every other element. So it will grab the first element, and then leave the second one, grab the next element, so every other element, which is 2, 6, A, and list. We could have passed, let's say, grab every fourth element. So in this case we get 2, and then the fourth element is A, and so on. So we can do that also. We can say XX double colon -1. This means grab every single element but in the reverse order. So now we have list, string, A, 9, 6, 4, and 2. So that's about list slicing. What if we pass an index that's not in our list? So earlier we saw that length of our function XX is 7. So what if I say XX at index 9? We know that it doesn't have index 9. So if we try to do that, we'll get an error. We get a list index out of range error. So that's one thing to note. If the index doesn't exist, we get this index out of range error. Let's call our list XX. So we have the elements. We can use the delete statement to remove an element from our list. Let's say we want to delete the element 6 from our list XX. So we can simply say delete del space and then our list XX and the index of that element. So the index of 6 is 2, right? 0, 1, 2, and then simply pass 2. Run it. Now if you call our list XX, we see that it doesn't have 6 anymore. And if we want to remove the entire list, we can simply say delete and name of our list. So I don't want to delete this one. Let's delete the other list that we created, X. So again, we can delete elements at any index. Let's say X at index 3. So if we delete that, it will delete. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3. So it will delete the element 4. Let's call X. So it doesn't have 4 anymore. Now we can delete our entire list by simply saying delete and then X. Now if we call X, we get an error. It says name X is not defined because we don't have X anymore. So in this lecture, we looked at how we can access elements in a list by using indexing and index slicing. And we briefly saw how we could delete elements in a given list. And in the next lecture, we'll look at